Hello and welcome to Dragonwilds. Today we're going to go over some tips for the incoming players that will save you time, resources, and hopefully reduce some of those frustrations that you might run into. And trust me, I have the Velgar cape, so you know these are going to be good. With that, let's jump right on in and take a sneak peek at our first tip and then jump into some early game tips right after that. Alright, for our very first tip, we're going to drop some secret starting gear that can enhance your early game and make the experience so much smoother. At the very start, you're going to be instructed by the wise old man Endor to gather some wood and some stone, and after you've collected enough, you're going to craft your first workbench. To make this easy, I'd recommend doing it by the south side of the church, as shown here. Once you've gathered enough rocks and wood to craft an axe and a pickaxe, you're going to want to hit the magic runes right next to you. There's quite a few of them, so don't worry, there's one on each side of the church and behind it, and you won't need much in terms of rune essence, because then you'll use a rune altar to craft those rune essence to wind and astral runes until you've hit level 8. Level 8, you'll unlock the wind step spell. With that unlocked, we then build some stairs up to the roof. We'll use our spell to jump to the roof, and inside this chest right here on the edge will be the recipe to learn the training sword. For the next part of this tip, when you've been instructed to see Vanaka, he'll send you to the windmill at the top of the hill to clear out some rats and get some rat meat. Once you've cleared this area out at the top of the windmill, this is where our next chest is at the very top. So we'll build our stairs in the normal fashion, and we'll use our wind step spell the same way to get to the top of this. And right here inside this chest is our next early game starting gear, the Leggings of Lightness. These will increase your carry capacity by about 50 points, which will be a huge help early game. And with that, guys, let's jump into our starting tips. Alright, on to our first early game tip, and it's going to be about building your first base. Here, when you reach the old wise man again, he's going to tell you to build a house. Early on, I'd recommend building something small. Definitely build it near water. Thirst in this game goes quick. And of course, if you're anything like me and you totally ignored that advice and decided to build a gigantic house, then here are a few easy building tricks to keep in mind. First, use the Eye of Oculus. This lets you fly around through walls and over into high ground so that you can get to those hard to reach places with ease. In this build mode, you can also use the toggle repair mode to clearly see without having to hold a big wall or floor piece in your face while trying to delete something small that you accidentally misplaced. And in that same fashion, you can also use ghost mode to plan your house in case you lack the needed materials, or you just want to see how it might look before you actually start building. Of course, this is Runescape, and it's an open world crafting game, so when building a house or crafting anything in this game, you're going to need a lot of resources. So let's talk about some gathering tips. For starters, when you run across some much needed materials or hard to find ones, you can use map pings to identify where they are on the map so that you and your friends know where to go when you need more. Once you've got enough levels into woodcutting, you'll unlock the Astral Axe spell. Make sure when you're using this to hit multiple trees at once to get the most use out of it. And of course, once you've got multiple trees on the ground and you start to split them into those smaller little logs, you can also hit the center of those when they break apart in order to hit 2 logs at once. This is not just applicable to trees, but also to any kind of nodes that you're farming for extra resources. Now here's a bonus tip for those of you who are more into base building or world exploration and don't really want to spend a lot of time gathering small things, chopping trees, all that kinds of stuff. There is currently a glitch in the game where you can pick something up, immediately log out to the menu, then upon immediately logging back in, you'll see that it spawns more than one item. This doesn't work just for trees, it also works on anything that spawns on the ground. The only thing it doesn't work on is nodes such as iron nodes, rock nodes, copper nodes, or any of those kinds of things that you have to mine. Our next tip is those pesky runestones that are in the air, and those can be shot down with a bow, or you can use magic from the staff. Either element works for this, air or fire, and once you've got those on the ground, of course, I do recommend using rock explosion to mine them all at once. Fuel is essential. You'll need to cook a lot of food and smelt a ton of materials in this game, especially if you're playing with friends. So, as you can see here, we have ash planks, ash logs, oak logs, and coal from left to right, and respectively you can see what's least effective to most effective. Smelting materials in the forge will be slow, so charcoal works best. That way you don't burn through a stack of 50 wood trying to melt 5 iron bars. The reverse of this is also true. Don't waste your charcoal cooking 2 chickens when an ash log will be enough. After collecting all your wood needed for base building, or to turn into charcoal, or of course if you've hit tier 2 building, you'll need a place to store your planks. The lumber storage is perfect for this, but it comes with an added feature. If you place it near the exit of a sawmill, it will automatically collect the planks that are made so that you can walk away without having to ever worry about picking it up. Here are a few useful tips for my mage friends. If you weren't already aware, you can select between air and fire for your spells. This can be done in the rune section of your inventory. What you might not be aware of is if this is your preferred fighting style, you can actually equip them to your hotbar for quick swaps. This leads us into our next combat tip. You can use the journal, and under the world section of it, it will list every enemy that you have encountered. This will also list their weaknesses and resistances if they have any. So if you're going hunting for a specific drop or are struggling with an enemy, this could be the thing that helps you out. Our next tip is all about drink infusions, and these are super helpful, guys. From quenching that insatiable thirst to reducing stamina on attacks so as greatsword users aren't always out of breath. They're super easy to make as well. Bones and dirty water make the ferocious infusion, which easily is supplied by the bark to bones spell. And the red berry infusion, that's for thirst. It's red berries and dirty water. Pretty simple. I'm also going to showcase to you guys side by side the impact of that ferocious infusion that it has on stamina, and why this should be a definite take with you on vault clears or adventuring, or if you're using any kind of melee weapons or you feel like you're struggling just having enough stamina to dodge, attack, and whatever else you need to do. Our last combat tip is going to be about your armor. Your armor does matter. Armor sets come with a set bonus. As you can see here on my Dark Mage hood, there's a set bonus 1 of 3, meaning only the first is active, but I'm using the iron plate body and the iron legs, which have a set bonus of 2 of 3. The reason for this is I have no use for the magic bonuses, but I do for the stamina regen delay that's on the hood. It's quite useful for a greatsword user like me. So make sure to pick your armor appropriately for the playstyle that you have, and the last part is this cape. The Alpha Cape has no stats, but you will have access to the Pioneer Cape, which is for early players, that does have stat bonuses. This is mostly cosmetic, so put on whatever you think it looks good. Alright, let's talk exploration. You're going to be doing a lot of it, and early in the game gives you ward stones. These are fantastic. It's basically free health. Not only do they allow you to take more damage in a fight, but they can also absorb fall damage. So if you're like me and you really enjoy jumping off large cliffs, for faster traversing or whatever it may be, this could really save your life. Our next tip is about loadstones. These are critical to your gameplay. This is hands down the biggest time saver in this game. These let you teleport around the map quickly to get to resource nodes, or even more valuably, to vaults. There is no time limit or cooldown to teleporting, so make sure you have plenty of law runes in your inventory so that you never have to worry about teleporting. And I highly recommend placing these in front of every vault that you go to or have explored. That way, you can always come back and farm those vault shards and vault cores. Speaking of farming vault cores, vaults have a reset timer, but there is an easy way to keep track of that. Back at the Wise Man, there's a chest. Well, any of these chests will really do, but if you loot this chest, you'll see that it's no longer golden. If you wait around until these are golden again and filled with loot, that's about the same amount of time it's needed for a vault to reset. So, loot the chests, hit the vaults, and then use those as a timer. Alright, our last few tips are going to be all about optimizing your XP gains and resources, starting with an XP potion. Once you unlock the cauldron, you'll find that you can craft all kinds of useful potions. These can be looted as well from the golden chests, but the potions provided to boost XP gains range from weak ones to larger potions. In these clips, we're going to compare. The left is no XP potion, and the right is with an XP potion. As you can see, when we cut down these trees, there's about a 3 XP gain difference, which doesn't seem like a lot, but keep in mind that this is a weak XP potion. As you make stronger potions, you'll gain more XP. Now, where this tip comes in handy is start to plan. If you know that you need to go chop down a bunch of trees, smelt a bunch of ore, or build a mansion like me, go ahead and pop one of those potions before you begin. That way you can reap those extra XP benefits. Alright, and we're down to our last 2 tips for you guys, and these are great even for the endgame players. Magical Mending. I know some of y'all forgot that this was a spell in the game, because I did as well. But this spell might just be the second most broken spell in the game. This spell can mend all of your items, regardless of level and regardless of materials needed. So, no need to go hunt down 12 abyssal demons just to repair your whip. All you gotta do, drop your gear and tools on the ground in front of you that need repairs, and use the mend spell. And as you can see, it's fixed all of my gear and all of my armor straight to 100%. Alright guys, and we're down to my last tip. And this is for the end game, when you hit level 40 and you unlock the spell, Personal Storage. This is hands down the most broken spell we have access to. It's a private storage in which you do not lose anything from, even if you die. But wait, there's more. It also affects your carry capacity. So if you're overloaded in the middle of an adventure or in the middle of a vault, not a problem. Open up that spell and drop anything that's heavy in there. This could be useful for resource gathering or for storing potions, weapons, food, water, anything you need to go on a long adventure. So make sure you guys use that spell. It's hands down the most broken thing that we have available. And of course, guys, I've got one last bonus tip for you because this annoyed me beyond all reason. After raids or adventuring when you've got tons of goblin packs or whatever it is, or maybe your character's really hungry, you can actually split those bags up and queue up actions, such as opening those bags or eating and drinking so that you don't have to wait for each action to finish before clicking the next one. Alright guys, hopefully you learned something here and these tips help make your journey through Dragonwilds a little bit smoother. If you learned anything new from this guide or saved you a headache, consider supporting the channel with a like or a sub. It really helps more than you know, guys. And stay tuned, I'll be dropping a follow-up video soon enough where we go over the locations of special armor sets and the special weapons and how to get your hands on them. Thanks for watching, guys. I'll catch you in the next one.